Hey everybody, my name is Chris. I'm here with Jeff, and we're doing a segment of Talking Telescopes for the Hamilton Amateur Astronomers Club. So, Jeff, thanks for inviting me over. You've got some really cool telescopes here, and right now we're looking at this awesome specimen. What is this?
Well, first of all, I wanted to thank you for coming over, Chris, and I really enjoy watching those videos that you're doing with the club members, right? I
Well,
think
thank you.
it's a good library to have of different equipment and how people like them or don't like them, and probably good information for beginners or somebody that's looking for something different. So,
That's what we're hoping for,
yeah,
so thank you for that.
yeah, thank you. So, a little background first. I got into astronomy probably around 3.5 or 4 years ago. Joined a club, borrowed a telescope. Actually, it was Hamilton Amateur Astronomers, and started looking at the night sky and loved it. So, a little over 3 years ago, this was my first equipment that I purchased. And what this is starting at the telescope. This is a Sky-Watcher Skymax 127 Maksutov-Cassegrain telescope. So sort of kind of like Schmidt-Cassegrain. It's hooked up on this mount, which is the Sky-Watcher AZ-GTi mount, and a tripod and a peer extension. This all came in one package. And the reason why I bought it was I had some criteria for getting started. I live in Hamilton in the middle of a light dome. And so I thought I would be traveling to try to get to darker skies. So I want something that was portable and light. Also, if anybody newer to astronomy has tried to find things in a light polluted sky, it's extremely difficult. So I wanted something that would do that for me. This is a GoTo mount. It's a GoTo tracking mount, which means that once you get it aligned, you can tell it to find something in the night sky and it will just find it and point to it. So that was an advantage too. So I think that was the two main criteria. This is very light. It's easy to transport. The whole thing together is about 20 pounds. I don't even think it's that much. So it's easy to move around. This amount will hold 11 pounds of payload. This with the tube rings, I put these tube rings on, but this is probably around 9 pounds here. So it's getting near its capacity. This has got some nice features in it. It's got a Wi-Fi network that it broadcasts that you can pick up on your smartphone. And with the SynScan app on your smartphone, you connect to the Wi-Fi network and you operate the mount from a smartphone. So you could plug in a hand controller. There's a port for it, but why bother when you don't have to have any cables and stuff dangling and fool around with something that's not all that intuitive for me, that keypad. I don't know about you.
Yeah, yeah.
But I struggle with it, so I just didn't want to use it. So this kind of worked out really good with that. It also has a built-in battery pack. It's got 8 1.5 volt AA batteries. I have rechargeables in here, high capacity. I've never run out of power. I would guess I could go 3 full nights before needing to charge the batteries. So it sips very little with this tiny mount. The telescope itself, it's a 5-inch, but it has a very long focal length. It's 1,500, just over 1,500 millimeter focal length. It's an f12. So this type of telescope is absolutely awesome for the solar system. And that's why I wanted to get this, is because that I figured was where I was going to start out with the planets and the moon, and then a little bit later with the sun. And so that's what I did. This is a great telescope for that. Not so good, being a slow telescope, not as bright as some other telescopes are. Not so good for deep sky objects. So you're looking at globular clusters or bright nebula, for instance, M42, one of those. It's good for that, but the dimmer stuff, not so much. So that's pretty much the basics. I did some add-ons to the telescope. I put on an electronic focuser. because this thing it hasn't got the greatest focuser. It's a knob at the back of the telescope. Like Schmidt-Cassegrain, it's pushing and pulling a mirror, the 5-inch mirror back and forth. A little different than a Schmidt-Cassegrain, it would be that although it does have a corrector lens at the front, this one is a meniscus lens. It's curved to basically flatten the field. So the problem that you have with Schmidt-Cassegrains, with field curvature, you don't get it all with this. The mirror is fixed. You don't need to collimate this thing ever, unless you threw it at the wall or something like that. So those are some advantages. The disadvantages is, I think, for Schmidt-Cassegrain, you have a 6-inch, I think, don't you?
I do,
yeah. They're faster telescopes, and you can put a reducer on them and get some bright views in them.
Yeah. The 6 with the reducer is a 6.3.
Yeah, 6.3. Now I do put a reducer on this. It's not a corrector though, because it doesn't need to any correction. And this will take it down to about a 7.8. So it's still not by any means fast at collecting light.
Now, were you using this visually, or were you trying to image with this?
I started visually, did a lot of it. Got used to kind of finding my way around and used to using the equipment and everything. And then I gradually started to acquire things. So I originally had an old Canon Rebel T3i that my brother gave to me. And so I started mounting that on the back and started with that, doing the moon and some of the brighter planets like Jupiter and Saturn, that kind of thing, Mars.
So when you're mounting the camera to the back, were you using a T adapter, or how were you mounting the camera to the back?
So I put on the reducer sometimes, and then I would put on an adapter, basically a T adapter nose piece, 1.25 inch nose piece that just slides right in. I actually, one of the upgrades I did was to have this twist lock, 1.25 inch twist lock. So I just lock it in place with the twist lock, and it stays very secure. A really cool thing that I found, because I did basically up until now, all I've done is use DSLRs, is I found this app called the Camera Connect and Control. And you basically hook up your DSLR to a smartphone, and you can operate your camera from the smartphone. It's like it has an intervalometer that you can use to do long exposures, multiple images, and all.
Is that for a specific brand of camera?
It's for Canon for sure at start, but I do think it. I mean, it's for Android, but I do think it's now available. I'm not positive, but for iOS, for iPhones.
Now, the reason I ask is I was looking for a way to control my Nikon. Now, my Nikon is an older model, D5200, and the only way to use that with a phone is using, I think it was called the WMU adapter. So that just plugs into the side of the camera. The camera doesn't have a built-in Wi-Fi within it, so you need a controller. And then the app that came with it, unfortunately, was not very friendly. It would drop connections all the time, so of limited use. So I actually went down a different route. I was using a piece of software called Backyard EOS for Canon, or Backyard Nikon, which you'd have to wire it. So it was now a wired connection to a laptop, but it gave you a lot of those same types of features. So you could do imaging plans, you could do different setups for different types of objects that you're going after.
Right. So I'm almost positive that Nikon won't work with this app.
Okay.
Because Al, I think, has had a Nikon, and we tried it with his and it didn't work.
No. Okay.
So, but this app, Camera Connect and Control, you can actually, it does cost. I think when I bought it, it was about $12. That's lifetime, and it's not an annual membership. I hate those. And but the problem was, actually, what you can do is you can test your camera before you buy. So you can download the app. You get to use it for 24 or 48 hours, and then make a decision to buy it or not. You don't get charged automatically either, so you can do that. But the great thing about it was, like, I just take a little tripod, I set my smartphone on the tripod and connect it to the DSLR and focus using the screen on my camera rather than using the little tiny live view screen,
Mhm.
and then set up a routine to take a series of images, have a little delay in between, all that kind of stuff you can do with an intervalometer. So it's pretty cool.
So, were you doing this as, I guess it really wouldn't be EAA because you're not live stacking on the phone. So you're trying to image and then look at the images or process the images afterwards.
Yeah.
What kind of exposure lengths were you using at this focal length?
Well, this it would be very short because even when I have the reducer, I'm still at 945
Yep.
millimeter focal length.
Yep.
Which, by the way, is a lot for a little tiny mount to handle.
Yeah.
So they had to be short exposures, and so we're talking seconds, like 5 seconds, something like that.
Yeah. Plus the Alt AZ, right? Okay.
Yeah. Believe it or not, this is an advantage for beginners.
Yeah.
Because you do not have to polar line, which I'm still struggling with, by the way. You just plug it. This is so easy to use. In 5 minutes, you're operational. You point the tripod to the north. You level the telescope. You turn on the mount, connect your phone to the Wi-Fi network, and away you go. You do an alignment, it's called. So you pick 2 or 3 stars and tell it to slew to those, and then you center the star in the field of view, and it learns where it's pointing to.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, the app just takes over and it gets to be fairly accurate, and it will stay in the field of view for a decent length of time.
Yep.
So as long as you're shooting short exposures, don't let anybody ever tell you that you can't do astrophotography with a Altaz mount, because that is definitely a lie.
Oh, for sure. And so many people use it as EAA, so electronically assisted astronomy, where you just take short exposures and you live stack them so that you can see more of the image. In fact, that's how a lot of the new smart telescopes,
That's exactly
the stars
what they do.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's right. So very cool telescope. I do have one question for you, and that's about backspacing. So if anyone wants to use a scope like this, or this particular scope with a reducer, what is your backspacing requirement? How much do you need to put in there to reach focus?
So that's the wonderful advantage with these Cassegrain telescopes.
Mm-hmm.
You have this really long in and out focusing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically just stick the DSLR in the back
mm-hmm.
and just keep turning the knob until it comes into focus, and that's it.
And you don't have to worry about curvature?
No, this
because it's a Mac.
This is a flat field.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And now with the Schmidt, you are getting a reducer and corrector, so that should remove the field curvature.
Yeah. A lot of people complain. Right? So that's a huge advantage to a Mac, that you don't have to worry about the curvature piece.
Yeah. Now there are disadvantages. That thick lens takes a lot longer to cool down.
Mm-hmm.
So you do need to set up earlier and allow it to cool itself down. Not so bad, because this is only 5 inches.
Yep.
Some of the bigger ones, like the 8 inches, 7 or 9 inches or whatever. So that's a disadvantage. It's also quite heavy compared to, say, your 6-inch Schmidt-Cassegrain, way less than this 5-inch.
Yeah.
I bet you it probably weighs less than this. This is very heavy.
Yeah.
That thick.
Do we take off the front here just to have a look?
You can see how it's curved. You should be able to, anyways.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, we'll take a close-up of the telescope.
So, and the other thing too is, I think the ratio of the size of the secondary mirror is better on a Mac. This is what the short form.
Yep.
Than there is for an SCT for a Schmidt-Cassegrain. Right? I think this is about 30%. And your Schmidt-Cassegrain is probably closer to 40, 37 or something like that.
Well, it depends on the size of your objective, but for a comparable 5-inch, yeah, I can tell that the footprint of the mirror is so much smaller in relation to the size of the
Exactly.
optics
Yeah.
compared to what you get with a Celestron SCT or formerly Meade. Yeah. Well, thank you, Jeff. It's an awesome telescope.
Thank you.
And thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions for Jeff about this telescope, about this setup, feel free to leave us a comment. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.